I don't think people understand just how much Africa's unexpected support for the Philippines is sending shockwaves through China and the entire global community. This is a new dawn from the global south. For decades, China invested in Africa, and Africa voted with China. Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative built infrastructure across the continent. In return, African nations offered diplomatic loyalty. This alliance seemed unbreakable, a cornerstone of China's strategy. But now the ground is trembling. From the heart of Africa, a new voice is emerging. It speaks of solidarity with the Philippines, locked in a maritime standoff with China. African nations see Manila's struggle as a reflection of their own. This pivot defies years of geopolitical assumptions. The message is clear: economic partnership does not equal political allegiance. African leaders are questioning the true cost of Chinese investment. They see mounting debt and trade imbalances. This growing wariness has opened a door for new conversations. The implications are profound, challenging China's global strategy. Beijing has long counted on the support of the developing world. Now, that support is wavering. A new chapter is being written. It is a chapter where smaller nations find strength in shared principles. It is a chapter where the Philippines, with Africa's unexpected backing, is redrawing the map of global power dynamics. The world is watching this unfold with bated breath. The dragon's shadow looms large as cracks appear in the Sino-African partnership. China's engagement with Africa was once hailed as a model of South-South cooperation. Beijing offered capital for infrastructure, building railways and highways. The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation symbolized this partnership. However, concerns began to fester beneath the surface. African nations found themselves sinking into staggering levels of debt. This phenomenon became known as the debt trap. The economic relationship proved deeply imbalanced. African markets were flooded with cheap Chinese products. The promise of job creation often fell short. The partnership felt less like a collaboration and more like an extraction. This growing disillusionment has forced a strategic reconsideration. African leaders are now actively seeking to diversify their partners. They are strengthening their collective bargaining power through the African Union. This shift is about demanding a more equitable and sustainable relationship. They see Manila's fight as their own. A shared struggle emerges from African mines to Philippine seas. The connection between Africa's resource-rich lands and the Philippines' contested waters is about sovereignty. African nations have watched as their valuable minerals are mined and shipped away. They see a parallel in China's fishing fleets plundering the Philippines' waters. This shared experience creates a powerful bond of empathy. The Philippines' struggle is not an abstract geopolitical issue for them. It is a familiar story of a nation trying to stand its ground. The language of international law has become a common rallying cry. The Philippines bases its claims on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. For many African nations, this emphasis on a rules-based order is appealing. Supporting the Philippines' position reinforces principles that safeguard their own independence. It is a strategic move to uphold a system where might does not make right. African nations understand the stakes. Their support for the Philippines is an investment in their own future security and stability. Manila's quiet diplomacy is forging bonds across continents. The Philippines did not win African support by accident. It was the result of a deliberate and patient diplomatic campaign. Filipino diplomats have been working tirelessly behind the scenes. Africa, a continent of 54 nations, became a key focus. This outreach was quiet, personal, and built on shared values. The strategy involved consistent engagement in multilateral forums. They shared stories and explained the economic and human cost of China's actions. This personal approach helped to build trust and understanding. Manila emphasized that its fight was not with the Chinese people, but with the aggressive policies of the Chinese government. The results of this quiet diplomacy have been remarkable. Countries that once echoed Beijing's talking points are now calling for respect for international law. This subtle but significant change in tone has not gone unnoticed in Beijing. It shows that even a smaller nation can build a global coalition to defend its sovereignty. Section 5. The echo in the halls of power: African voices at the UN. The United Nations General Assembly is a grand theater of global politics. For years, China skillfully directed the performance of many developing nations. This bloc was a formidable diplomatic shield for China. But that shield is now showing cracks. The shift became noticeable in recent votes and statements concerning maritime law. Diplomats from countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana have begun to explicitly mention UNCLOS. This is diplomatic code, a clear signal of support for the Philippines' position. This change is not merely symbolic, it has practical consequences. It weakens China's ability to control the narrative. Statements from these African nations serve as a direct contradiction to China's claims. It demonstrates that support for international law is a truly global position. This erodes the legitimacy of China's claims and isolates Beijing diplomatically. Each time an African nation speaks up for UNCLOS, it adds another voice to the global chorus. This sentiment links the Philippines' struggle directly to the economic and security interests of every African nation. This growing chorus of African voices represents a significant diplomatic victory for Manila. Section 6, Beijing's high stakes, the cost of losing a continent. For China, the stakes in Africa are immense. Africa is central to the Belt and Road Initiative and a source of critical minerals. Losing political influence in Africa would jeopardize these vital interests. The numbers tell a story of deep integration. China's financial generosity was assumed to translate into political loyalty. If African nations begin to side with the Philippines, it shatters this assumption. The diplomatic cost is equally severe. The loss of African solidarity would be a major blow to China's soft power. This emerging reality forces Beijing into a difficult position. The unexpected support from Africa has turned a regional dispute into a global test of its international standing. Section 7. The Philippines emboldened, a new chapter in sovereignty. The newfound support from Africa has been a massive morale boost for the Philippines. It has validated the Philippines' strategy of standing firm on its sovereign rights. This diplomatic momentum has coincided with a significant strengthening of the Philippines' security posture. The Philippines has revitalized its alliance with the United States. The support from Africa adds a new, unexpected diplomatic layer. The words of Filipino leaders reflect this newfound confidence. The support we are receiving is a testament to the universal appeal of international law. This bold language is a departure from the more cautious rhetoric of the past. The African support has transformed the narrative from one of a lone victim to one of a global champion for sovereignty. It has given the Philippines the strategic and moral endurance to continue its long and difficult struggle for its rights. Section 8. A ripple effect, the shifting sands of global alliances. The Africa-Philippines connection is more than just an isolated event. It is a symptom of a much larger global realignment. A new multipolar world is emerging. Middle powers and regional blocs are exerting greater influence. They are forming flexible coalitions based on shared interests. The bond between African nations and the Philippines is a perfect example. This trend poses a significant challenge to China's worldview. The idea that smaller nations could band together to challenge its interests is disruptive. Influence in the 21st century must be earned through persuasion and respect. This development is being watched closely by other nations in Southeast Asia. The ripple effect could transform the regional dispute into a global referendum on Chinese expansionism. The United States and its allies are also adjusting their strategies in response. By supporting the sovereignty and agency of nations like the Philippines, the West can help foster a more balanced international order. Section 9. The Future of Power, a World Realigned. The story of Africa's support for the Philippines is a harbinger of the future. It signals the end of an era where global politics could be neatly divided into predictable blocks. The world of 2025 is fluid, dynamic, and multipolar. Power is becoming more diffuse. Nations are building alliances based on specific issues and shared principles. This new reality requires a more nuanced approach to foreign policy. For China, this is a moment of critical reflection. Its strategy of leveraging economic power for political loyalty is facing its most significant test. The cracks in its African partnerships are a warning sign. For the Philippines and other middle powers, this is a moment of opportunity. They are discovering that they have more agency and influence than they previously thought. The alliance between Manila and its African friends shows that solidarity is a powerful currency. The unexpected pivot of Africa has opened a new front in the struggle for